Recently, I made a video discussing the global matcha shortage, but there's another shortage on the horizon that will affect me even more personally. Gyokuro, my all-time favorite tea, is in danger of extinction. This is the most revered tea in all of Japan, once the green tea of choice for the emperor himself, and now it faces its biggest challenge yet. In this video, we're going to discuss what Gyokuro tea is, why it's so special, and why it might be dying out. By the end of this video, I'll reveal a devastating piece of news that will change the future of neo-teas. In 2019, I worked with the Uji Board of Tourism to shine some light on some famous tea sites around the area. On the list was a tea ceremony at Teowan Tea House in Uji, the childhood home of Nagatani Soen, considered to be the father of the Japanese tea industry, and a tea shrine in Ujitawara. Then, I unveiled the final destination on my list, Ogura. What was so special about this small suburb of Uji, they probably wondered. This was where Gyokuro was first discovered, with only a few small plaques to commemorate the birth of Japan's most revered tea. I thought this unceremonious monument was symbolic of the Japanese tea industry as a whole. With millions of tourists coming to Japan every year, hunting for matcha in Uji, and taking part in tea ceremonies, I bet I was one of the only few that drove out here to see this moss-covered monument. If anyone did make it out here, I bet they would walk right by these small tea bushes and stones that time had forgotten, without a thought as to why they were there. It was at this site where the tea merchant Yamamoto Kahei made his discovery. You see, one of the reasons why Uji has become so famous for tea is their long practice of shading tea plants. This was originally done to keep the tea plants safe from weather, but they found that the tea leaves grown under shade were smoother and sweeter in flavor. This shading practice spread throughout Uji, and by the 16th century, the farmers here had built up their reputation for producing the best matcha in Japan, a title they still hold to this day. We now know the science behind this transformation. When the tea leaves are exposed to sunlight, they begin converting theanine into catechins as a protection against the UV rays. These catechins produce a more bitter flavor in the final tea, so by blocking the sun, the leaves are able to maintain more of their sweet and savory theanine. The theanine not only leads to a richer and sweeter flavor, but it can also have benefits when it comes to focus. L-theanine is thought to buffer some of the negative side effects of caffeine and induce a calming effect on the brain. This is why green tea drinkers report having this long-lasting, calm, alert energy that's much different from coffee. In the 1830s, Yamamoto Kahei took note of this transformation of the tea plant and began experimenting. He pushed the tea plants to the limit, shading them for 3 weeks or longer, and then used the processing technique invented by Nagatani Soen to steam and roll the leaves to lock in their flavor. Only this time, he found something unique. During the process, he found a sticky green residue from the long-shaded leaves, and he gave the tea the name Gyokuro, or jade dew. This tea was taken to the city of Edo, modern-day Tokyo, and commercialized. It began to take off amongst the elites, as fine tea at the time was considered to be a status symbol. It was believed to be the tea of choice for the emperor himself, and this is why the tea is often sold as Imperial green tea. While most green teas decline with age, Gyokuro actually improved with age. Catechins deteriorate quicker than amino acids like theanine, which means the tea can even get smoother with age. This made it a desirable tea before the invention of modern refrigeration. But it was not just the aging potential that made this tea so revered. The long shading process produced a thick, brothy texture and a sweet and savory flavor. This is perhaps one of the most unique flavors in the world of tea. And when you describe the flavor, you find yourself using tasting notes that are more commonly found in soup than in tea. Brothy, seaweedy, sweet, and even salty are not uncommon descriptors of this legendary green tea. When preparing Gyokuro, you're meant to use a larger amount of leaves and a smaller quantity of water. This concentrates the tea into a smaller space, so the flavor is even more intense. When you drink Gyokuro, it's not just about savoring the flavor, but also the texture as it glides over your tongue drop by drop. I'll never forget my first sip of this incredible green tea. It was a moment that made me truly fall in love with Japanese green tea and totally changed the trajectory of my career. But why would such a wonderful tea ever go extinct? I'll get to the Gyokuro shortage later, but before that, there's still one more important piece of the story, the Gyokuro farmers. One of the highlights of our sourcing trips to Japan is meeting with the legendary Gyokuro farmer Mr. Sakamoto in Shibushi. After tasting dozens of Gyokuro teas from all around Japan, none quite compare to the ones produced on this family farm. What's even more impressive is the fact that Mr. Sakamoto produces his teas without the use of pesticides or chemical fertilizers. This is extremely rare amongst Gyokuro farmers. To be considered a Gyokuro, the tea plant needs to be grown under shade for 3 weeks or more, which is an incredibly stressful time for the tea plant. Most farmers turn to chemical fertilizers to boost the plants during the shading process, but Sakamoto believes there's a better way to do things. he's created an ingenious solution to this problem. There's an abundance of sedimentary rock in Mr. Sakamoto's region, and one day he came up with an idea. Because sedimentary rock is a collection of nutrients built up over millions of years, in theory, it could be used to provide nutrients back to the soil. The mulch sediments need another ingredient to activate it, and for this, Mr. Sakamoto leaned on the traditional Japanese method of bokashi fertilization. This uses leftover organic waste such as rice hulls to fertilize the tea plants. After trying a few different methods, Mr. Sakamoto finally found a tea fertilizer that worked. He noticed that this fertilizer not only made the tea plants stronger and healthier, but the tea itself took on an extremely rich flavor. In order to test the tea plants, he'll take a clipping of his field and compare it with a clipping from a non-organic tea field. After spending just a few weeks out of the soil, the non-organic tea plant will begin to wilt and die, and the organic tea plant will still retain its leaves and color. The Sakamoto tea fertilizer has become so successful that other farmers will purchase it for use in their own fields. He notices a difference not only in the health of the tea plants, but the entire field as well. He demonstrates this by sticking a bamboo pole 5 feet into the ground without meeting much resistance. When he stopped applying chemicals to the tea field, the earthworms and small insects were able to thrive and move around the soil, which loosened it up. This creates a healthier, more diverse ecosystem, but it also allows the roots of the tea plant to penetrate deeper into the soil and absorb more nutrients. When you compare this to tea fields that use pesticides or chemicals, you'll notice hard, black earth with nothing growing other than tea. We believe that a tea field should not only support great tea, but also a diverse array of local flora and fauna. We currently offer 4 Gyokuro teas from Mr. Sakamoto, and they are among our most popular teas. The Gyokuro Chamejin with its caramel sweet warmth, the Chamasume with its floral undertones, the Sasahime with its balanced umami, and the Wakamusha for its vegetal depth. Now here comes the bombshell. None of these teas will be returning next year. We received an email from the farmer stating that due to several factors, he would not be producing the fan favorite teas this year. So what's happening? As you're likely already aware, there's a matcha shortage in Japan, and it's affecting all Japanese tea farmers, not only the ones that produce matcha. With matcha prices rising, the Japanese government sees an opportunity to save the Japanese tea industry. The government wants farmers to produce more matcha, and they're offering subsidies to convert normal green tea farms into matcha farms. These are the second-order effects of the matcha shortage. As matcha rises in popularity, we'll see a reduction in other types of Japanese tea like sencha being produced. But Gyokuro appears to be particularly vulnerable. The production process used to make tencha, or the leaves used to make matcha, and Gyokuro are very similar, so they will find themselves in competition with one another for tea plants, tea pickers, tea equipment like netting and scaffolding, and more. Currently, less than 1% of the tea produced in Japan is Gyokuro, and with the growth of matcha, that number is likely to go even further down. Some farmers will make this transition, and unfortunately will lose out on decades of tea-making knowledge in the pursuit of more matcha supply. This year's harvest has been particularly difficult. With record high temperatures in Japan, the yield has been significantly lower than ever. It would appear that there's not going to be enough tea leaf to go around. The good news is, Sakamoto will continue to produce Gyokuro, and it will be better than ever. A lower yield often means higher quality, and that's exactly what Sakamoto has been reporting. With a relatively small plot of land and a lower yield than expected, he needs to focus on quality over quantity. This means he will not be producing the more inexpensive Gyokuro teas that have since been crowd favorites. Instead, he has decided to make the most of the small harvest and focus on premium Gyokuro and matcha tea, and we're supporting him in that endeavor. That's why we'll be launching a new line of Sakamoto teas that will be better than ever before. If you want to try the classics you know and love, now's your chance to get them. Once they're gone, they may be gone for good. I know this is sad news, and as an avid Gyokuro drinker myself, I really feel your pain. As a company, we're trying to adapt to these changes as well as we can. As much as we'd love to continue providing you with the inexpensive Gyokuro teas, we have to support our farmers during this difficult time. I hope I'm wrong about the Gyokuro shortage, but at the moment, it looks like we're already seeing the first signs of it. I wanted to make this video to draw some attention to this incredible green tea and why it's worth protecting. With all the hype around matcha, I really hope teas like this won't be forgotten and the traditions can live on. Soon, we'll be sending out some updates on the new Gyokuro and how you can get your hands on it. Stay strong, everyone, and keep drinking the good stuff.